It was a gloomy October evening when Rachel Keller, a seasoned investigative journalist, sat at her cluttered desk, staring at the flickering computer screen. Her office was dimly lit, and the rain outside tapped against the window, mirroring the chaos in her mind. She had recently heard a disturbing story, one whispered among teenagers in hushed tones, the story of a cursed videotape. Supposedly, anyone who watched it would receive a phone call, and a voice would tell them they had 7 days to live. At first, Rachel had dismissed the story as just another urban legend, a tale concocted to scare kids away from staying up late watching horror movies. But the recent death of her niece, Katie, changed everything. Katie had been found dead in her room, her face twisted in terror. The cause of death was unknown, and the only clue was the frightened whispers of her friends, who claimed Katie had watched the cursed tape just a week before. Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to this than just coincidence. Driven by a need to understand what had happened, she began to investigate. She had tracked down Katie's friends, who told her about the tape. A sense of dread had settled in her gut as she listened to their frightened recollections. Determined to find the tape, Rachel visited the cabin where Katie and her friends had stayed the weekend before her death. It was a small, isolated place in the woods, nestled near a lake. There, in the corner of the room, she found an old VCR and a collection of tapes. She sifted through them until she found one that was unlabeled, just a plain, black VHS cassette. Her heart raced as she picked up the tape, the weight of her decision settling heavily on her. Could it be real? Was there any truth to the story? Rachel hesitated for a moment before sliding the tape into the VCR. As the screen flickered to life, she saw a series of disjointed, haunting images, flashes of a well, a woman brushing her hair, a ladder, an old mirror, and a ring of light. Each image felt unsettling, creeping under her skin like an invisible force. As the tape ended, the screen went black, and for a brief moment, there was nothing but silence. Then the phone rang. Rachel's hand trembled as she reached for the receiver. She lifted it to her ear, her pulse quickening. There was a brief pause before she heard the soft whisper on the other end, 7 days. Chills ran down her spine as she hung up the phone, her mind racing. It was impossible, wasn't it? Just a prank, some elaborate trick. But deep down, Rachel felt the dread take hold of her, gnawing at her reason. For the next few days, she immersed herself in the investigation, hoping to find the origins of the tape. Her search led her to a mysterious girl named Samara Morgan, a child who had lived on a remote island with her adoptive parents. Samara had the ability to project horrific images into people's minds, a power that terrified those around her. Her parents had tried to contain her, but the power grew uncontrollable, eventually leading to Samara's death when her mother, in a fit of desperation, threw her down a well. The videotape, it seemed, was a manifestation of Samara's rage and suffering, a curse that spread through the images she left behind. As the 7th day approached, Rachel felt the weight of impending doom settling over her. She couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Desperate for answers, she visited the island where Samara had lived. The islanders were reluctant to talk, their faces clouded with fear whenever Rachel mentioned Samara's name.